So, picture this. It's 1914. Europe is buzzing. You've got incredible new technologies, amazing art and culture. It really felt like the absolute peak of civilization. So, how on earth did this modern, sophisticated world suddenly plunge into one of the most brutal wars in all of human history? Well, let's get into it. This might sound like a joke, but it actually captures the really strange mood in Europe back then. Because just under that shiny, cultured surface, there was this weird, widespread feeling that a huge war wasn't just possible, it was pretty much guaranteed to happen. So why was everybody so ready for a fight? You have to understand the whole continent was basically a giant powder keg just waiting for a spark. Let's break down all the ingredients that made it so explosive. Okay, so at the heart of all this was this tangled web of rivalries. You had France still seeming about territory they'd lost to Germany years before. Then you have Germany, this new, powerful country with big ambitions. They called it Weltpolitik, or world policy, and they were building up a massive navy. And that, of course, made Great Britain, the world's biggest sea power, very, very nervous. And on top of all that, you've got these huge, crumbling empires like Austria-Hungary trying to deal with all these different groups wanting independence, many of them backed by Russia. Plus, there was this whole secret network of alliances, these backroom deals that made everyone super paranoid. And to top it all off, military technology was advancing like crazy, and frankly, a lot of countries were just itching to try out their new toys. Now, let's talk about the spark that lit the whole thing up. And what's crazy is that it all comes down to a single, almost comically improbable event. Seriously, it involves one guy, a car with the top down, and one really, really bad wrong turn. I mean, you just can't make this stuff up. The whole assassination was a total fluke. The first try, a bomb, completely missed the Archduke's car. But instead of getting out of town, the Archduke decides he has to go visit his injured officers in the hospital. So they set off, but his driver, who doesn't know the new route, takes a wrong turn. And then, in a moment of just unbelievable luck or unluck, the car stalls, right in front of one of the assassins from the first attempt, who had stopped to grab a sandwich. Okay, so the Archduke is dead, and Austria-Hungary is furious. They are absolutely convinced the Serbian government was behind the whole thing. And this is where the dominoes really start to fall, one after another. First thing Austria-Hungary does is run to its powerful ally, Germany, and Germany gives them what's famously called a blank check. Basically, whatever you do, we've got your back. So feeling pretty confident, they send Serbia an ultimatum, a list of demands so outrageous they were designed to be rejected. And, just as they planned, Serbia refused. And that was it. The first domino was pushed. On July 28, 1914, Austria-Hungary officially declared war on Serbia. Immediately, that whole tangled web of alliances kicks into gear. Russia saw itself as the big protector of all the Slavic peoples, including the Serbs, so they start to mobilize their massive army to defend their ally. And mobilization, by the way, is a huge deal. It's getting millions of soldiers and all their gear ready for war. It's the clearest signal you can send that you're not messing around. So when Russia started mobilizing, that was the trigger for Germany. They had a pact with Austria-Hungary, and they honored it. Germany declared war on Russia. And Germany's declaration of war on Russia, well, that triggered the Franco-Russian alliance. France now had to jump in. And just like that, the war had officially spread across the entire continent, pulling in yet another one of Europe's great powers. Now, Germany had actually been planning for a war on two fronts for years. But as we're about to see, their entire strategy was basically one gigantic, high-stakes gamble. It was called the Schlieffen Plan. The whole idea was built on one huge assumption, that Russia, because it was so big, would take forever to get its army ready. So the plan was to throw pretty much everything they had at France first, knock them out of the war in about 6 weeks, and then swing their entire army back to the east to deal with the slow-moving Russians. The goal? Avoid a long, terrible war on two fronts at all costs. The absolute key to this plan was speed. And to get around France's super strong border defenses, Germany's plan called for marching an army of 750,000 soldiers right through neutral Belgium. They were betting that the Belgians would just let them pass. Well, that bet didn't pay off. Belgium actually fought back and fought back hard, slowing the Germans down. But the real game changer was this. Germany violating a neutral country absolutely outraged the British. Britain had an old treaty guaranteeing Belgium's neutrality, and they honored it. Suddenly, the entire British Empire, with all its global resources, was in the war against Germany. So that quick, glorious war that everyone expected? Yeah, that idea was about to smash headfirst into the brutal, messy reality of modern industrial warfare. And this right here just perfectly shows you the insane disconnect between old school tactics and new school technology. You had the French army literally marching into battle in brightly colored uniforms and neat columns right into the sights of German machine guns and heavy artillery. It was an absolutely brutal lesson in how much war had changed. After their initial successes, the German army was just exhausted. Their supply lines were stretched way too thin. Just as they were getting close to Paris, the Allies launched a massive counterattack. A gap opened up in the German lines, and, fearing they'd be surrounded, the German command ordered a retreat. They pulled back, and they dug in. And so began the age of trench warfare on the Western Front. This brutal, static stalemate where both sides dug these massive, complex networks of trenches that scarred the land all the way from the Belgian coast down to the Swiss border. And life in these trenches, it was a living hell. You're talking about constant shelling, followed by orders to charge across a muddy, barbed wire hellscape called no man's land, straight into machine guns, all just to gain a few meters of ground. The trenches themselves were just pits of mud, disease, rats, and the constant presence of death. So, with that dream of a quick war completely dead and buried, and millions of men trapped in this absolute nightmare of mud and wire, the whole world was left asking one single terrifying question. What now? What in the world could possibly break this bloody stalemate?